A new documentary is premiering at the Sydney Film Festival, a documentary called The Department. And it's my great pleasure to be speaking to the director of The Department, Sascha Ettinger-Epstein. Sascha, welcome to Movie Metropolis.
Thank you for having me.
Now, what I found so intriguing about this documentary is, of course, how sensitive the issue is about child protection, etc. How did it all come about that you were able to make this film?
Yes, well, it is extremely sensitive. And basically, we made a film at Shark Island Productions with Ian Darling back in, I think we started in 2005. It came out in 2008, which was about a youth refuge, which I think you might have seen at the Oasis. And, you know, there was a huge groundswell of support after the film came out, and the politicians were clamoring to, you know, help youth on the street, and, you know, volunteers came forward and money was pledged, and it felt like there was going to be some social movement towards helping the problem of young people that had, you know, nowhere to live. And, you know, after that, shortly after, Rudd was kicked out and the white paper was torn up and the Liberal government got in, and, you know, then the Syrian war happened, and it got knocked off the agenda, I guess. And Ian Darling is really passionate about that cause. And he said, well, it's 10 years later and the statistics are worse. What can we do to reignite this issue? And I said, well, look, I'll go back and catch up with the people that were in it and the ones that I'm still not in touch with anymore. And there were quite a lot of babies born that in one of those years that we were filming there. And I think I filmed 4 births, and I didn't have a child at the time. And I found it quite confronting. And basically, when I went back to catch up with a lot of the young women, a lot of their children had gone into care, and they themselves had been in the care system. And I said to Ian, look, the obvious story is the children of the children. I mean, what happens before you turn up at Oasis? So we sort of envisioned this film as a prequel to the Oasis, like what happens in the care system before you end up at a youth refuge and spill out onto the street. And we were lucky that Tanya Plibersek had her office opposite the Oasis and was very involved in that. And her husband happens to be Michael Coates-Trotter, who's the secretary of the department, or was until just like a week ago. And he is very progressive. And we thought we would just make an approach and say, look, we could very sensitively attempt to tell some kind of story about the department. And after a year of negotiations and contracts, and Mary McRae drove that whole aspect, we had a big brainstorming session with a lot of leaders in the department that were supportive, and then they agreed, yes, we'll undertake this project. So it's been about 3 years in the making. And, you know, we started by doing things that were not involving families. For example, going to the helpline where people ring in to make the calls, and, you know, we watched the caseworkers there, and then eventually we were allowed to go into some offices and spend time with the caseworkers and, you know, look for families that would take part. And so that's how it all came about. But it has taken a long time, and it's been a difficult process. And, you know, like, we're so grateful to the people that signed up to be part of it. The caseworkers, a lot of the caseworkers were like, hell no, you know, this is a really bad idea. Whose stupid idea was this? And yeah, so many times I thought the same thing myself, like, what the hell am I doing? But yeah, I mean, I think the way it's come out, hopefully it just shows, you know, what more can you show except that it's complex. Nobody's a baddie, nobody's a goodie. You know, it's just a big human soup of foibles and, you know, misfortune and social inequality. And it's just, you know, it's a difficult terrain, a very rich terrain too. Anyway, that's a very long-winded answer.
But a great one, and congratulations on being able to achieve this, because it reveals so much about what happens in New South Wales in terms of child protection and how the system works, hopefully, to achieve the best outcome for families and for children in particular. So I'm quite intrigued as to your filming process, because of course you have to straddle so many ethical issues about what you film, what you don't film, who gives permission to be filmed, etc. How were you able to negotiate that and to get the people involved that are in the film?
Sure. Well, we sort of envisioned this process whereby it would be rolling consent. So we weren't even sure if caseworkers would do it beyond, to be honest, because a lot of them, we turned up at one particular office that we'd sort of been designated to start at, and the looks were like death stares. It was just because all of their lives, on their professional careers, they're taught never to say anything to the media. Everything's completely confidential. And suddenly you got these people roaming around in your office, and who are they to trust us? So we had a process whereby we promised everyone who participated, they would see their footage first. They would be able to comment on it and feedback. There would be many review processes. We had 3 sets of lawyers from SBS, from the department, from our end, and the people were always able to see their footage as it was compiled. Even during the process, I would like to share scenes with people and say, look, this is how it came out, and get advice and feedback on what, but yeah, I mean, it was hard to get people to sign up, really. I mean, the shooting ratio is quite low in that, we didn't follow loads and loads and loads of people because, the opportunity to, firstly, the workers and the staff of the department are fiercely protective of the people that they work for, like the families. So, there was only a few people that really stuck their neck out and it made the introductions that then went further and went into filming. And we did have a few people that, started filming and then said, no, actually, I've changed my mind, I'm out. So it's been nerve-wracking in terms of, you showing people all the way along, like, oh, I'm gonna have to show them the footage before it's, all pretty. And yeah, but that was that. We just tried to be as transparent as possible, and also go in with the intention to represent people, from their point of view as well as from the caseworkers. But yeah, I had a very privileged role in that I was allowed to be with families and parents and by themselves. I told them, you say whatever you want, slag them off, go for it. If you have had bad experiences, the department acknowledges it's left a trail of destruction. They're trying to change the philosophy. They're trying to change practice to be better. And, but, it's on record, say what you want. And yeah, I mean, I guess there was limitations in terms of people being in court for their cases. And yeah, I mean, it has been difficult to navigate, but there's been some extremely brave, courageous people that wanted to get it out there. Like this was my experience of it. And the overwhelming perspective from the families was, I want to help other families that are going through this because it's the toughest thing that there is. And Leanne, one of the mums in the film, said, if one parent gets a boot up the arse and doesn't, and pulls their stocks up and doesn't end up going through court, because once you go through court, it's so difficult, then my whole life's worth it. And she's now doing counselling, alcohol and drug, like she's learning to be a counsellor. And I think she's just on that grassroots level going to make such a difference. So yeah, that was pretty much how it rolled, but nerve-wracking process.
I can imagine, and how interesting it is, and that we were able to witness what is happening in the department, so to speak. And of course, you're never aware what the outcome of particular stories are going to be, the ones that are left in the film. So you're always on a trajectory where it could well go pear-shaped, and things could go quite unpleasant, and particular too for the caseworkers who are themselves caught in the midst of this. So having a film crew, a camera crew, sound, etc., following them around, etc., over a period of time, that must have been such a fascinating exposure and experience.
Yeah, it was fascinating for me. I'm not sure, probably very nerve-wracking for them, but the right people sort of self-selected, and they believed in the process, and they also trusted that we would show them the footage. And people asked to remove stuff. They asked us, can you remove, I feel like I said that, it sounds disrespectful, take it out. And we did it. So, I mean, it wasn't like, I guess things within reason, like if they were, we weren't trying to sanitize everything, but yeah, I mean, they did have power over their representation. And I guess our intentions were honourable in terms of not wanting to, we weren't there to sort of do any expose, or, there are still people practicing the bad old days in the department, I'm sure. We weren't there to make heroes or anything like that, but I guess we wanted to just do a fair representation of people struggling. I think the system's flawed. I think there's a lot of good people in the system, and the system's flawed. So they duck and weave and try and get the best outcome for their parents that they're working for, with and for.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was fascinating. I can't believe, I just feel it was absolutely, it was heartbreaking, it was harrowing, it was confronting, but you just see the raw human spirit within all of that. I don't know, there was a lot of moments of inspiration that I would not have predicted, really. So yeah.
And I can imagine that this documentary, the department, will serve an educative function, because it will teach people about the role of this childcare system in New South Wales, for example, how it operates and how people can manoeuvre around it. And I can imagine government would be very interested in New South Wales in particular, but maybe nationally, about this process. Has it been screened to politicians, to government, so that they can respond?
We have screened it to ministers in New South Wales, and it's been on TV. But yeah, we're yet to do more of the education and outreach work. So yeah, we're hoping that it is educational and useful, because when you have, one of the issues that the department faces is that, to try and recruit people that are quality, that are come in for the right reason, like social workers, and all the social workers there, they tell you when you're in your training you're doing your degree, all the lecturers say, don't go to the dark side, because the department is so feared and reviled. And I think, which, hopefully that will show people you can do good work in this system. And also, the layperson in society, you just have no idea. You really are clueless. All you get really is the Daily Telegraph saying, oh, this child was left in the house of horrors, or, oh, these children came and stole, these people came and stole my children. So it's just, there's never any real more depth to the discussion about child protection. And really, it is an important subject. And I think it's great that people can know, they're not just bad parents or, rat bag children, or, it's everywhere. It's sort of it's really something that you don't get to see very often. So I thought on that level, it's, you just see the human condition writ large. And there's nothing more at stake, really. There's no higher stakes than children's lives, vulnerable children. I don't know. It was really so interesting, and hopefully it will be useful.
Exactly, the power of documentary, and I can see how that can work. And there's also the issue of Indigenous families and children, which is sort of raised in your documentary as well. And I suppose that is a whole major kettle of fish as well.
Oh, it's huge. We had Noble Savage, who were a production company, work with us for consultation, and they came to shoots and they met with all of the Aboriginal participants. I actually, we thought, well, what we'd like to do really is tell the story of an Aboriginal staff member within the department, with that double bind of, wanting to help people inside the system, but having all of those, representing a department that's done such incredible harm to Aboriginal people. So, but, it's been really difficult to get any traction with Aboriginal workers, because it's so fraught. And we were so thrilled that Stacey signed up to be part of it and tell her story. And she's, in court at the moment, hopefully going to get the restoration of her kids. But yeah, it was a huge consideration, because obviously, nothing about us without us. We needed that, Aboriginal creatives on it to make sure that it was all done in the right way. And it's just, there's so many different points of view about Aboriginal children in care. But I do, from what I saw, I believe that attempts are being made to improve the conditions and pour more money into families so that the kids don't get out of the family, because that's really where they do the best. So yeah, but it's a massive Oh gosh, yeah, huge consideration, weighed heavily on our mind.
I can understand that. I can imagine you traverse so many ethical and personal and social sort of issues there in your fine documentary. So, Sascha, you've said it's already screened. Was it screened on SBS? Did it play?
Yes, it was on SBS. Yeah, because of the film festival was delayed, so unfortunately it's not a premiere, but it is on. It's on at the film festival on the 11th. So it's currently on demand, actually, on SBS. Yeah.
Okay. So people can access it if they're not in Sydney as part of SBS On Demand.
Yeah.
Sascha, you make some very interesting documentaries. I remember the Pink House so well about the Kalgoorlie brothel, and that was such an intriguing story. And you've mentioned the Oasis, and you also did a follow-up with the people at Oasis. How do you decide what you make a film about?
Oh, I just get caught up in the people. Like, I love the people. It's just, yeah. I mean, with this one, it was, Ian's motivation and that looking for that way to keep the issue alive and reignite it. But yeah, I mean, you just gravitate towards interesting people. With the Pink House, I just was, just blown away by the intriguing Madame Carmel and BJ, and just that unusual. I love people on the fringe. Anybody that's not, just being. I love things outside the mainstream, and just raw people living their lives, in the struggle, because everyone's in the struggle. And I think I love to see the way that people resist and sort of have that resilience against all of the forces that bloody, go against you in life. But yeah, I mean, gosh, I like all sorts of. I'm not sure why I have such an obscure taste. I don't think I'll ever be like a mainstream successful commercial film person. It's always going to be just niche people watching my film, so I appreciate that you watched it.
But there's an interesting conundrum there, because you obviously like filming people who are on the fringe, who are not quite the sort of mainstream of society. And then when you have a camera involved in documenting that, does that change or influence or manipulate that sort of experience?
Lost you.
Oh, you seem to have frozen there. Okay. Now.
Sorry, you're frozen. Are you okay? Oh, you're good now. Yeah. So you said, does the camera affect the?
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely, definitely does. Yeah, I think so. I mean, when people are doing their work or what they do in the normal life, and I stand back and they forget that I'm there and they've just got a little lapel mic and it's just me. I think you can get some authenticity there, but you definitely influence what's happening, and your own curiosity, like you interject and you steer things in directions that are interesting, and you get people to stand in places where there's better light, or you definitely influence it. I think absolutely, and the editing, of course, it's highly manipulated. It looks as if it's just unfolding, but really, like, it's so refined. You've looked through, like, sequences can have shots from different places, and you're just trying to give a sense of the world, really. But yeah, I mean, I always watch documentaries, and you just know how much. Yeah, it's so highly subjective, really. It's never just stand back and let it happen.
Yeah, it's such an interesting process, but then it's so important to document this experience. Otherwise, people would not understand.
Yeah, I mean, I hope you get a tiny glimpse into that world. It's really the tip of the iceberg. Those, there's just such a huge volume of stuff that goes on, and you can't fit it into a film. I mean, you need to write like 10 books, really, but films, for some reason, things get so grossly oversimplified because there's only so much you can sort of absorb in a scene, or you can't unless you're kind of an auteur and you make those films where like a scene can go for 20 minutes and you have to just sit there and absorb it all. I mean, I found it fascinating. I mean, the meetings, for example, between caseworkers and parents or families would go for 3-4 hours, and you got to condense it down to a couple of minutes, and you just think, oh, but that was just profound. You know, this exchange was profound, but when you translate it into you just can't. And it's so much process. It's like you just have to keep the emotional bits. So it's, I mean, gosh, people would watch it and go, you know, they don't really know the half of what it takes to, you know, to go through those processes as a child protection worker, for example, and what the family goes through. I mean, you know, at one point in the edit, we had 5 different caseworkers coming into a mum's home, and they each had to do a house inspection. You just go, oh my God, she just got like her house walked through 5 times by 5 different people. You just think, oh, it's so invasive. But in the end, it just becomes boring on the screen. So you gotta choose what is it you're trying to say, and that's why it's so yeah. But look, I'm glad that some of it's been recorded, and you know, the basic sort of process is out there, and to show how hard the work is. My goodness, imagine having those kind of confronting conversations with people just as, oh, 9 a.m. got to go see someone and talk to them about drugs, or, you know, like, it's just so difficult, so invasive. I mean, you know, it's a bloody tough gig, and I think a lot of those workers, they're so hated by society, and you just think, oh, well, actually, they're really not what you think they are. So hopefully that comes across.
It certainly does. Yes, you've documented that really well. Just a couple of final questions, Sascha. Are there any particular filmmakers, documentary filmmakers, etc., who perhaps have inspired you, or that you regard as good examples of documentary filmmaking?
Oh gosh, yeah, heaps. I love watching documentaries. I never watch drama. I just can't. I just can't suspend my disbelief. Yeah, like, I've always loved Kim Longinotto's films. You know, she just goes out into the world, and, you know, for example, she has no music, no graphics, no nothing. It's just like the raw footage, and it's so emotional. I like those observational style films. I really do. Oh, there's so many good ones. Gosh, you're catching me unawares here. I'm just trying to think. I just watched that one from Romania Collective, you know, about the Romanian health system, and it's like, wow, you know, that kind of access. I think that's probably the thing that I find the most impressive, is when people manage to gain access to places where you just think, there is no way a camera, like, how did a camera get in there, you know? And how did the people just sort of be naturally doing their thing while the filmmaker was there? It's really those kind of feats of, but, you know, like, I love Bob Connolly's work from Australia. Like, there's so many good films. Oh gosh, I'm just trying to think of what I've watched just recently. It's just, yeah, there's, you know, with the advent of all these streaming services from the library, you can get, like, you know, these amazing footage of, like, Aboriginal people in the 1960s, like, on country, like, just living their lives. Oh, it's just, anyway, there's so many good things to watch. It's amazing. What about you? Am I allowed to ask you?
Oh, well, there's just so much, because I see so much documentary. I'm in the middle of the Melbourne Documentary Film Festival at the moment, which has a huge number of excellent documentaries of so many different subjects. So, yes, I'm a great fan of it. So, yeah, I agree.
Hit me off after on email. Tell me what you saw so I can watch it.
Right, Sascha, then the last question I love to ask is, are you working on another film at the moment?
I am working on, you know, my tan at the moment. No, I'm just trying to, I need to unwind. I'm a bit smashed. Had, you know, with this, I've been doing a bit of homeschooling for 3 months, and yeah, just needing to work on this project, which is, you know, the life that always gets ignored. So I'm working on my my cycling and going to the beach, and you know, that kind of thing. So I'm kind of, I haven't really, the thing is with the type of films I like to make, you've got to make a commitment that you're doing it and you're stuck doing it for a fairly long time. So you got to make sure it's the right subject, because it's got to have that, you got to have something unique, and some people that are, that really like just compulsively have to film them. I think that's for me, it's just like a compulsion. Like it's just, but at the moment I haven't landed on what it's going to be. But I'm doing some, I'm trying to do some environmental videos for like Environmental Defenders Office, and just gratis stuff. So that I like to do enviro stuff. So it's probably the thing I'm most interested in. But I just, I think there's probably too many environmental documentaries, like long ones that, they take too long to make, and like, the world crisis is just trucking on. So you like can't spend 3 years making a film. It comes out, everyone goes, wow, and then it's like, oh, let's go have sushi. I don't know. I just I'm not sure that it's going to make any. I got to find something to do. Yeah. Anyway, I'm sure I'll land on something.
I'm sure you will too. There's always plenty of subjects out there that need to be filmed. We've been speaking to Sascha Ettinger-Epstein, the director of The Department, which is screening at the Sydney Film Festival and also on SBS On-demand. Thank you so much for talking with me, Sascha.
Oh, thank you very much for your interest in the film and for watching it and promoting it. It's really, I hope a lot more people watch it. It's pretty bad ratings.
Thanks again.
Thank you.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye.